Hey, what's going on? Today we're going to talk about how easy it is to use FL Studio. So I know there's a lot of songwriters and artists out there who have probably tried to use some sort of digital audio workstation and ran into a lot of trouble. It's not like some of them aren't intuitive and things like that. FL Studio, when you first crack it open, may not seem that intuitive either. But if you give me the next 5 minutes, I'll show you the basics, the basic five things you need to know about the layout that could get you started producing today. If you'd like a free training on how to create a professional track in less than 2 hours using FL Studio and free things you can find on the internet, and that's with no experience necessary, no music theory knowledge needed, just write the word yes, YES, in the comments below. Yes, and I will DM that over to you. Now, I'm Jason Dowdy. I've been an artist and a producer for over 20 years. I've worked with people like Timbaland and Aaliyah, and I teach independent artists how to produce for themselves so they can take their career to that next level. So let's hop into it. Let's look at FL Studio and how easy it is to use. So I'm just going to share my screen. Bear with me. All right, let me bring up FL. Here we go. All right, so there's five main things you need to know to get started, just to know the layout of this DAW in general, because it looks a little intimidating. A lot of buttons to push, a lot of things, right? One good tip and trick, though, is if you don't know what one of these controls does, if you hover over it and look right over here in the top left corner, anything you hover over will let you know exactly what that tool is used for. Awesome. So that's a good start. And I do want to point out that there's a control panel up here for play, stop, and record. And this is your tempo, just so you're aware of that. But the five things I want to focus on for this is number one, the browser. So these are all of the folders that are included with FL Studio, and it also includes any folders that you add to it. So if there's something in a folder like a sound pack, a drum kit, anything like that, that's not part of FL Studio's, native sounds that they give you, you'll need to add the folder over here. And I'll show you how to do that real quick. You would just go to options up here in the menu bar. You go to file settings, and these are all of the folders that are included. I'd recommend just using putting them all in one place and just using the top level folder. And then that way you can drill down here in the browser. So for example, I've got an F drive mounted here, and you can see I have access to all of the folders within the F drive. So that's a good, easy way to make sure that you've added everything that you need. All right, and then let's talk about the playlist. So this is what you're looking at, and when you first boot up FL Studio, this is exactly what you're going to see. This view right here is the playlist. So think of it as your song view. These little rectangles right here are patterns. It's divided into your key signature and whatever parameters you set. So this is your grid in the background to let you know how many beats or measures that you've used. Um, if you go to this little magnet tool, for example, and switch it to beat, now when you zoom in, you can see that each beat is in the grid. But when I turn it back to bars, those beats disappear because now the grid is just every single bar. And I hope that makes sense. A good way to work in the playlist, if you hit Control, hold down Control, and then use your mouse wheel, it will zoom out and in for you like that, horizontally. And then if you use Alt, it can also do it vertically as well. So I'm just holding Alt and using the scroll wheel. That'll help you kind of zoom in on a piece of your song a lot easier. Then you have your channel rack. So think of this as where you load your instruments and samples. As you can see here, I have a lot of samples, a lot of instruments, and all you have to do to add a new instrument or sample is for instruments like a VST, which is a plugin, you can click the plus at the bottom, go to more plugin. You can either add it from this menu or go to more plugins and add it from this menu. So any third-party plugins you might have could be found here. So those are instruments. Or you could go to your file system, grab any sample, and just drag it over, and that will add it as well. I'm going to delete that because I don't need it for this project. So this is where you load your instruments. In the playlist, you'll notice that I have drug a sample directly into the playlist. So you can do that as well. Just drag it directly into the playlist, depending on how you want to organize and create your music. All right. So we've gone over that. We've gone over, oh, the piano roll. So let's talk about the piano roll real quick. So if I were to drill down into this pattern, remember these little rectangles are patterns. If you double click on it, it will bring up the piano roll or show the notes that are playing in the song. There we go. For example, let me move all the way to the left so you can see it. All right. So that's where you can add your specific notes, your velocity, how hard you're hitting the different notes. You pan it left and right, and you can do a lot of powerful things in the piano roll as well. Okay, so we've covered the browser, the playlist, the channel rack, the piano roll, and then finally, let's talk about the mixer. So when you click up here, you can view the mixer. And if you're wondering where the mixer is, remember, you can always look in this top left corner over here. And if you hover over it, it says View Mixer. This is where you can control volume, panning, those types of things as well, and lay down your final mix. All of these mixer channels by default flow into the master. So you could control each individual sound within the mixer. You can add effects to it. Let me see if there's one that has effects added. For example, this synth swell channel, I have an EQ applied to that. So you can apply different effects like reverb, delay, any of those types of things right here in the mixer. You have full control over each individual instrument, and then all of those flow into the master where it puts it all together. So those 5 things, again, just as a recap, we have the browser over here where you can access your files. The playlist, which gives you an entire song view, so you build your creation, intros, outros in order, formatted, all of that. We have the piano roll, which are the individual notes that you play with each instrument. You have the mixer, which is where you can control the sound of each individual instrument. And then we have what am I missing? Channel rack, where you load the instruments, and the instruments live right in here. So I hope this has helped. It's not as complicated as it seems at first. If you could just keep those things in mind of how, especially the playlist, the channel rack, and the mixer all work together, that's going to make everything a lot easier. I hope this has helped somebody out there, maybe somebody who hasn't seen FL Studio. Maybe this is just a good introduction for you. Let me stop sharing my screen real quick. All right. So I hope this has helped somebody out there. If you want a free training on how to create a professional track in less than 2 hours using FL Studio and free stuff you can find on the internet, just write the word yes, YES, in the comments below, and I'll DM that over to you. But until then,